James Paxton is officially back with the Boston Red Sox to help this team hopefully make a big second half push and fight for a playoff spot.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is it's all free. So you might as well take advantage of it and check it out because Locked On is your team every single day. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, h-vac, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at SupplyHouse.com. Welcome to Locked On Red Sox, where it can be very difficult on days like today when the Red Sox decided to lose another series over the weekend. They took one of 3 games from the Yankees, and what was the most frustrating about that series was game 2 was totally winnable. The Red Sox kept climbing back in that game, and it was such a back and forth game between these two teams, and then the Yankees ended up winning in extra innings, but it was so frustrating because it just pointed again to the fact that the Red Sox need bullpen help. They still do need bullpen help, and it's just so very frustrating that things have been the way that they've been. The Red Sox are now 2-7 since returning from the All-Star break. Exactly what I feared was this team having a slow start out of the gate when they came back from the break, and I'm just hoping they can figure it out, starting with tonight, hopefully turning things around. And Craig Breslow, towards the end of last week, finally picked a lane and said that the Red Sox are going to be improving the team at the trade deadline. So far, he has been making some additions, with the biggest one being adding James Paxton back to this rotation. They acquired him in a trade with the Dodgers for infielder Moises Bolivar. He was a minor league infielder, 17 years old, hit .270 with 3 home runs and 19 RBIs with the Dominican Summer League Red Sox. He agreed to a minor league contract with the team in January for a $25,000 signing bonus. So he is not a major piece or anything like that, was not an impactful player that the Red Sox really needed in the organization down the road, especially with the depth that they do have in the system right now. So they didn't really need him anymore, and the price was never going to be that high for James Paxton because he had been DFA'd by the Dodgers. So I wasn't expecting him to be super expensive, but I did go on record on the show last week and explain that Paxton would be a good fit and makes sense to bring back to Boston. He did pitch well in his start against the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball with the Dodgers, and it definitely creates some promise and some more depth for this rotation. This season, he is 8-2 with a 4.43 ERA over 18 starts. So he hasn't been fantastic per se this season, but he is a back-end starter who can eat innings, which is exactly what the Red Sox need. And from a depth standpoint, it now allows the Red Sox to utilize Cooper Criswell in the bullpen, which they did on Sunday night against the Yankees. And being able to shift him back into the pen with the injuries they have there, hopefully just allows for a much better setup for the Red Sox when it comes to bringing guys in relief. So James Paxton is somebody who the Red Sox have now brought in to hopefully provide some innings late in the rotation. and they don't necessarily need a front end starter. I mean, getting another rotation arm would be fantastic. It's something that I would love to see them do, but they do have a guy in Tanner Houck who has been very good this season. Did not look great last night against the Yankees, but overall has been that go-to guy for the Red Sox rotation this season. And then Cutter Crawford shortly behind him as the number 2 starter. So if they can get a solid starter to add to that group, that would certainly be ideal. But just adding a guy like Paxton, who is a veteran, has experience, and pitched in Boston, so he knows what that's like, could definitely help this team out a lot moving forward when it comes to trying to make a playoff run. And it just made a lot of sense bringing him back here as somebody who just has been with quite a few different teams and understands the pressure that comes with pitching in the postseason. So I'm definitely looking forward to having Paxton here. He's not going to be fantastic. I'm not expecting just this crazy good stuff from him. He might surprise us and have more starts like he did with the Dodgers against the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball, but I don't have high expectations for that. And I feel like he will simply serve as a lower back end starter who can just provide some rest for the bullpen by having a sense of eating innings and being able to go 6 or 7 innings per start, which would be absolutely ideal. The Red Sox DFA'd pitcher Chase Anderson, who was seriously struggling this year. And it was tough because he definitely had created a role for himself on this team. He was the guy that the Red Sox would throw in there to pitch when the game was over, whether the Red Sox were up by a lot of runs and they could afford to give up a few, so they would throw him in, or if they were down by a lot of runs and Alex Cora knew that the game was over, he was the guy that they could bring in those scenarios to eat innings at the end of games. So that was a defined role for him. So it's going to be tough not having our go-to guy in games that are a wash anymore, but it needed to happen. I mean, Chase Anderson was not getting the job done. And if the Red Sox are looking to improve and make a playoff run, they need to start to weed out the weaker links. And so it makes sense that they would DFA him because he was the weakest link in the bullpen. And I'm glad that the Red Sox are aware of that. And while making these bullpen moves, they also claimed right-handed pitcher Yohan Ramirez off of waivers from the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, talk about just the Red Sox and Dodgers just continuing to trade players and do business together. I mean, the history between these two teams is actually crazy, but there's lots of players going back and forth between these two teams. So the Red Sox claimed Yohan Ramirez off waivers. He was actually the second pitcher in 3 days who was DFA'd by the Dodgers to end up with the Red Sox because of James Paxton coming a couple days before that. So it's just ironic. But what's concerning about Ramirez is this is the 4th team this season for him. He also pitched for the Orioles and Mets before joining the Dodgers. In 2+ months with Los Angeles, he pitched in 27 of 54 games before they DFA'd him to make room for Clayton Kershaw. But on the season, he has a 5.97 ERA over 32 games with 38 strikeouts and 15 walks in 37 2/3 innings. He's also 0-5, including 3 walk-off losses. So it's definitely a little bit concerning. He's not somebody who I have tons of high expectations for, and I don't think the Red Sox do either. But Craig Breslow, to me, did this in the interim while he works to get a better reliever over the next couple of days before the trade deadline, because this, to me, screams this bullpen needs help right now. And maybe he'll be able to provide a little bit better value than Chase Anderson did. So we can have him in here for now. And then if I'm able to trade for a bigger, better reliever, then he either gets DFA'd again or maybe just gets sent down to AAA. So I'm not really seeing this guy as a permanent solution to the bullpen problem right now, nor do I think he is the only move they are going to make. But it is another pitching move that the Red Sox made that is worth noting. And he's somebody who hopefully is going to be able to go out there and surprise people a little bit and be able to just provide some innings late in games, because guys like Greg Weisser and Zach Kelly and Cam Boozer, those types of guys are going to start to get worn out because of how much they are being used. And it's really crucial to keep these guys rested because we saw this last year with the Red Sox, how the bullpen just got super fatigued by the end of the season. So it's so important to make sure that these guys are still in check and on par with being able to give their best performances. So in order to be able to have them do that with the combination of Cooper Criswell getting sent back into the bullpen, allowing for James Paxton to come in and picking up Ramirez, hopefully will just give the Red Sox a little bit more breathing room now that Chase Anderson has been replaced by Ramirez. So lots of moving parts over the last few days for the Red Sox, and those moving parts continued. And coming up next, I'm going to be discussing another player that the Red Sox traded for recently that hopefully could provide a lot of value moving forward. You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good? That's what I get with Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. I love Stitch Fix. My style is very particular, but with my wardrobe, Stitch Fix is able to help me personalize it so that I feel comfortable in everything I'm wearing. All I do is I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences, and I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And they just send 5 just for me pieces plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. And then I essentially keep what works and send back the rest. It's a great deal. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign up. Offer does not include kids fixes. I'm telling you though, nothing is better than feeling comfortable in your own clothing. So Stitch Fix absolutely has your back for that. Also, Locked On Sports Today has your back if you're looking to stay caught up in all things going on in sports. As we as a network have launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's available on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app, and it will keep you up to date on all things going on in sports, no matter where you're at or what time zone you are in. So make sure you check that out today if you want to stay caught up in all things going on in any sport. With the trade deadline quickly approaching, the Red Sox did make a couple moves over the weekend to try to improve the team. They added starter James Paxton to hopefully provide some innings late in games because the Red Sox are struggling with this bullpen right now and they are feeling fatigued and guys are being overused. And James Paxton is somebody who can provide 6 or 7 innings per start. So hopefully he can continue to provide that with the Red Sox for the rest of this season. So definitely a move that made sense for Boston for the back end of the rotation. He wasn't too expensive because he had just been DFA'd by the Dodgers. But that was the big first move that the Red Sox made to dive into this trade deadline. And then they also traded for catcher Danny Jansen from the Blue Jays. Now this situation is interesting because at face value, when people were looking at this trade, they were saying, how does he fit in with this Red Sox team? But it makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of, for one, he is an upgrade from Reese McGuire. And as a corresponding roster move, when the Red Sox activated him to the active major league roster, they DFA'd Reese McGuire. So that's definitely tough for Reese. I feel badly. I mean, he's just worked so hard and he's been in the majors for a while. And he just was truly the Red Sox backup catcher, but he wasn't cutting it. And this year was just not working for him. He had a 209 batting average when he got DFA'd, went 0 for 4 in his last outing at the Rockies. So it's been a tough go for Reese. And as soon as the Red Sox traded for Jansen, I knew that Reese McGuire was gone. I just am curious to see if the Red Sox are going to be able to pull off a trade to send him somewhere and get something in return. Because when a player gets DFA'd, the team has a certain amount of time to work out a trade if they are able to. So if they can package Rhys in with a couple prospects to get a strong reliever in return, that would be ideal. But when you look at the catching tandem now, Danny Jansen overall is an upgrade from Rhys because defensively he's far better than Rhys is. And offensively, he's providing slightly more value to with a 219 batting average on the season right now. He actually did hit in the Red Sox lineup in the Sunday night 8-2 loss against the Yankees. He was DHing in the game and batting in the 7 hole, and he went 2 for 3. So that was nice to see that he did record a couple hits for Boston in his first game in a Red Sox uniform. It shows that he hopefully is going to be able to acclimate himself pretty easily to being in this Red Sox organization. And it's interesting because I was talking about how the Red Sox needed another right-handed bat to be able to hit against left-handed pitching. So when it comes down to his batting average against both, he's batting 204 on the season versus right-handed pitchers and 273 versus lefties. So he is hitting better against left-handed pitching. Still not overly exceptional, but hopefully enough to the point where it provides value for the Red Sox. And it goes to show, I mean, he hit well against Carlos Rodon, who's a lefty, in that Sunday night game against the Yankees. So hopefully that provides some promise and a little bit of balance to a Red Sox lineup that overall really struggles to hit lefties this season. So bringing in Danny Jansen, for one, is an upgrade to the catching tandem as it is, and they feel like they're in a better spot now with Connor Wong and Danny Jansen as the two catchers, as opposed to having Reese McGuire out there, who did start off very well this season, but then kind of fell back down to earth and struggled after that. So I wish Reese the best of luck wherever he goes from here. Definitely provided a lot for the Red Sox in the time that he was here, but this Red Sox team is trying to compete, and Danny Jansen is somebody who can help them do that. And what also makes sense about this move is that it now can allow for Connor Wong to spend some time in the infield at first base, second base, kind of mixing between the two while Jansen is catching, and it'll help alleviate some of that workload from Wong, because it was obvious that the Red Sox have been wanting to get Connor Wong into the lineup as much as they can because he's one of the best hitters on the team this year. So it makes sense that the Red Sox would want him to consistently be in the lineup. And so in order for them to do that, when he wasn't catching, he was either DHing or substituting in to play in the infield at first or second. And so now, because Jansen is hopefully going to be more reliable than Reese was in that backup catcher role, now they can have Jansen catch more so that Wong can play in other areas and not feel like he has all this high intense workload because he's catching one day and then DHing for a couple of days and then going back to catching. So it definitely takes a little bit of pressure off of him, and they can comfortably give Connor Wong an off day in hopes that Danny Jansen can step in and provide that value. And he won't be the same type of hitter that Connor Wong is. I mean, Connor's just so disciplined this year in terms of what he's swinging and not swinging at. So he won't be the same level of hitter to me, but he is somebody who can allow for Connor Wong to get more rest days, because if you took Connor Wong out, Reese was not providing nearly close to the same level of production. So that's why the Red Sox felt like they still had to have Connor Wong in the game in some capacity. So now having Jansen in there allows for Wong to be able to get the rest that he so very much deserves sometimes, and it allows for him to play other positions too that the Red Sox could use right now. And not to mention the fact that they do have Vaughn Grissom close to coming back, who likely will be the second baseman. So then Connor can help out at first base until Casas comes back. So it definitely makes sense from the standpoint of having an upgraded backup catcher. And it just allows for Connor Wong to not have as much of that high intensity catching workload. So not a bad move. Is he going to be the best player on the team? By no means, but he is somebody who can provide value for the Red Sox in a spot that they definitely were happy to upgrade. And Alex Cora is really excited about him being here. So the Red Sox acquired him and they traded to Toronto infield prospect Cutter Coffee, which was a second-round pick in 2022, who has impressed in high A this season for the Red Sox. I mean, he was definitely a very talented, exciting prospect, but with the depth that the Red Sox have in the infield right now and the guys coming up in the next couple seasons, it makes sense to move around some of those guys because they might not have a starting spot on this Red Sox team down the road. And Coffee's somebody who definitely provides a lot of value for an organization. So this was a good time to trade him because of the fact that the Red Sox just have other players and they have a surplus of infielders in their system right now. But he will be talented. I think the Blue Jays will like him over there, and he'll hopefully do well in their system. He's also joining infielder Edinson Paulino and right-handed pitcher Gilberto Batista. So these two guys are interesting. I mean, Paulino was playing in Portland this season, and he certainly has been able to make his mark, batting .263 on the season. And it's been good for him to be able to grow and develop. And his slugging percentage is .391 with a .349 on base percentage. So he has put together a nice little season for himself so far for Portland this year. And he's somebody that I'm sure the Blue Jays are looking forward to having in their system because they can really develop him into what they want him to be down the road. And Gilberto Batista signed with the Red Sox as an international free agent in November 2022. And he is 19 years old, signed for $10,000 and made his debut with the Red Sox in 2023. With the Dominican Summer League Red Sox, he posted a .354 ERA over 40.2 innings pitched, 9 starts and 11 appearances overall. And he also had a 33.5 strikeout percentage and a 5 walk percentage. In 2024, he has had some troubles with his command. He upped his walk percentage from 5% to 13.7%, while his K percentage dropped from 33.5% to 24.2%. But he still found a way to be effective for the FCL Red Sox, which is the Red Sox of the Florida Complex League, posting a .392 ERA over 20.2 innings pitched. 5 of his 8 appearances were as a starter. He does have a fastball that maxes out at 95, though, so he can have issues with getting that pitch thrown for strikes. And also, guys are just hitting it a lot, so they're going to have to watch out for that. But he could turn into a special pitcher for the Blue Jays, but not super likely at the moment. He definitely needs to get better if that's going to be the case. But the Red Sox gave up some talent, but that's what you get to get talent. And they got a good catcher in Danny Jansen, who will hopefully be able to provide value. He's always hit well at Fenway, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Coming up, the Red Sox have had trouble since coming back from the All-Star break. Did you buy in to this team a little too early? I'm going to be talking about all that next. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with super helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Never a bad thing to make sure you're overstocked on your electrical and household supplies. So check that out today. Also, just a reminder to check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. It's available on YouTube and Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. And all of our experts here at Locked On will keep you up to date on everything going on in sports. So make sure that you check that out today if you are looking to stay caught up in all things going on in sports. The Red Sox have a record of 2-7 since coming back from the All-Star break, and Craig Breslow committed to buying, and he has already started to do that buying by acquiring James Paxton and Danny Jansen. But did we, as a fan base, buy in too early to this team? Did the last month and a half leading up to the All-Star break fool us into thinking the Red Sox had a chance, and now that they're struggling again, we are seeing the team they really are? Or is the team we saw in the month of June and into July really who they are, and they're just struggling right now because they've suffered from injuries? I mean, there have been so many things that have gone on with this team lately that it's been hard to pinpoint what's been going wrong, but they are scoring runs. I mean, they're scoring 6, 7, 8 runs in a game, and in a lot of cases, that should be enough to win. But unfortunately, it hasn't been enough to win for this Red Sox team because the pitching staff has been giving up lots of runs simultaneously. And it's almost like the wheels fell off the bus at the All-Star break and they came back, and now the pitching staff just hasn't been nearly as effective as it was earlier on. And I do feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that the bullpen is very fatigued. And games that the Red Sox should be winning, they're not winning. 2 of the 3 games against the Dodgers, the Red Sox had the chance to win if they had had the right guys in there. And it's not Alex Cora's fault. I mean, he's utilizing the guys he has. He doesn't really have another choice but to utilize who's out there. It's because they have key players injured in Chris Martin and Justin Slayton, guys who would come into high leverage situations in games and help the Red Sox get out of the inning. And I hope that Craig Breslow doesn't wait until the very last second of the trade deadline to pick up another reliever, because it's just been very apparent that this team needs that. And I feel like that Red Sox team that was resilient and was winning lots of baseball games in June is still there. I mean, we saw it on Friday night against the Yankees. The Red Sox fought back from being down 7-4 and ended up coming back and winning that game against the Yankees on Friday night. And it was nice to be able to see that, because that was the team that we got used to seeing for a month and a half plus, was a team that just continued to fight and continued to be resilient. And no matter what was going on in a game, they still took competitive at-bats, and they were just trying to do everything they could to get those runs across the plate. And then Yoshida ended up being the hero on Friday night against Yankees closer Clay Holmes. And that team, I was hoping, would carry that momentum into the rest of the series against the Yankees. Unfortunately, things did not go their way. Tough 8-2 loss on Sunday with Tanner Houck on the hill. He did not look his sharpest, only a couple strikeouts, and just had trouble with his command and was walking lots of guys. So that was tough. And the Red Sox just could not generate much offense other than back-to-back home runs by Rob Refsnyder and Connor Wong early in the game, but they just couldn't generate much offense as a whole. And then Saturday night, the game that went to extra innings, the Red Sox lost 11-8, and they had the chance to close it out. Kenley Jansen came in the 9th inning with the Red Sox up a run, and he had the chance to close out the game and couldn't do it, and the Yankees tied it, and then they won in extras. And it was infuriating because I kept thinking, if we had our guys in here, our guys that normally would pitch in these situations, our lockdown guys that could get the job done, we'd probably win this game. And I found myself saying that against the Dodgers twice too. And you have to wonder, which team is it? But I truly feel like the Red Sox are still that team that has that fight in them that we saw. I just think they've had a tough go since coming back from the break, and guys in the bullpen are being forced to be utilized when they shouldn't be utilized, which is not Alex Cora's fault. And the longer they prolong this process of trying to get another reliever, the further back they could drop in the wild card standings. They start a series against Seattle tonight, a very important series the Mariners have been having a good season, and this is another test for this Red Sox team, a team that has the toughest schedule in baseball coming up. So in order to get a playoff spot, they certainly will earn it. They're going to have to work and work and work and beat these teams and try to find ways to manufacture runs, because it's definitely tough when they end up in a position where they're trying to claw for runs and they aren't able to get anything across the board. And that's what I feel like is tough right now with this Red Sox team, is they'll score a bunch of runs and then their pitchers will give up too many. And then when the offense is off, they can't win either because they're not generating a lot of offense. And so it's been tough to watch for sure. But I feel like that team is still the Red Sox, the team that fights back and can win these games. They just need to get themselves healthy and get the help that is needed out of that bullpen. If Craig Breslow can pull the trigger sooner rather than later on a reliever, this team will be in a lot better shape. And I still believe in them. I still feel like they are that team. And this bad slump that they're in right now is not going to have me sit here and say, okay, the Red Sox are, back to being the team we always thought they were, and that they're frauds and they don't actually have the capability to compete. I'm not going to sit here and jump to that conclusion, because I truly feel like they still are that Red Sox team that we've seen come back when down, and we've seen put lots of pressure on teams. And even against the Yankees too, it showed in that extra inning game. The Red Sox kept coming back and would not go away. And that was great to see. So they still have that fight in them. The results are just not going their way right now because they are not fully healthy. But if they can get fully healthy soon, they can continue to ride this wave that they're on. And by fully healthy, I do not mean, Lucas Giolito and Trevor Story, guys who we know are out for the season. But I mean, let's see what happens with Liam Hendricks when he comes back. Could be a bullpen reinforcement, but the Red Sox can't just wait and rely on him. They should be acquiring a reliever still regardless. And let's see what happens when Casas comes back, and Chris Martin and Justin Slayton, lots of guys who have yet to come back and be able to prove that they can contribute to this Red Sox team. So I am still buying in on this Red Sox team. Don't give up yet. It is, a tough stretch right now of baseball that this Red Sox team is playing. But let's see what happens over the next couple of days. Let's see if Breslow makes a move for a relief pitcher, and hopefully it can be somebody who can provide some depth in those late innings when a starter gets pulled, because the Red Sox have had trouble utilizing guys in those spots lately, because lots of them just have not had it and have not been able to bring their A game. So let's give Breslow a couple days. Let's not write off this Red Sox team despite this stretch. Let's see how these newbies acclimate themselves and fit in and go from there. And it's time to ride with this Red Sox squad that we have now. This is the team that we are riding with that is going to be there to make a playoff run, hopefully, for this team. So you just have to have faith. Just keep that all around. Go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.